Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of On the Infield. Tonight we're at the Murray Bridge Speedway where we're going to feature round one of the Select Trucks Junior Sedan Series. And joining us tonight for tonight's program is Danny Prad, the driver of the Select Trucks number 18. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Now, driving junior sedans, what's it all about?
Pretty much to win, try and do as best as you can.
And what got you into junior sedan racing? Because of course it's under the age of 16 for all you guys, young guys and girls.
Well, I seen this advert on the Great Outdoors and that pretty much just sparked my interest and went from there.
And tell us a bit about this race car. It's beautifully presented. Whereabouts did it come from and how long have you been driving it?
I think it came from Mount Gambier, and yeah, I think so. And been driving it for about a year now.
And what's the best thing about driving these cars?
Getting to race it, really.
All right, so there's Danny Prad. He's one of the drivers you'll see tonight on tonight's program of On the Infield. We've got a massive field of 30 junior sedans contesting round one of the South Australian Junior Sedan.
So here race number one now on the Speedway here in the opening round of the South Australian Junior Sedan statewide series, and into turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. As you can see, a big field of junior sedans. In fact, a couple of cars making contact further back, and maybe the 5 of Joel Chadwick just making contact with the turn 1 wall. In fact, we've got a car turning around and bringing out the yellows. That may have been the 42. So the on the restart here. Once again, a pretty messy start here for the opening of the junior sedans. But Lana Tyndall in car number 22, who will get the jump. And in fact, she's opened up a pretty big lead already in the bright pink race car. You'll also see similar Daihatsu charades throughout the evening in the hands of both Dean and Adrian Cottrell, but the Daihatsu charade out in front of Lana Tyndall, that bright pink race car. In fact, there is Dean Cottrell in behind her in car number 33. In fact, we've got another car spinning around, and maybe the 42 once again. And a couple of cars going in all directions and making contact further back in the pack. Oh, and the 42 once again all over the place. So a complete restart. So Lana Tyndall will be very disappointed with that. That elevates the 41 of Josh Martin onto the front row. And in fact, he's made a very nice start, and he'll lead them through turn number 1 and 2. Josh Martin recovering from a very big accident here at Murray Bridge a few meetings ago. It's good to see him back out on the racetrack and being competitive. Lana Tyndall in the second spot. Have a look at the gaggle of cars further back. And once again, another car into the back straight wall there. So this race very hard to get underway. Hopefully that car will make its way off the racing surface before our race leaders make it down the back straightaway. In fact, it has. And the race will continue. So it's Josh Martin in car number 41 who leads. In the second spot is Danny Prad, the driver who we just met earlier in the episode. In fact, once again, contact further back in the pack. Also one of the Glasgow spinning down there in turn number 4. Also the 93 of Carlia Fox also involved in an incident there in turn number 4. So on the restart, single file this time. We had completed one racing lap unlike the previous occasions. Of course, all the drivers must pass the orange cone situated on the front straightaway before they can make a move. And speaking of moves, it's Danny Prad in car number 18 looking to the outside of Josh Martin there in turn number 4 in the bright sunlight here at Murray Bridge. Of course, this round number 1 of the South Australian Series events will also be held throughout the year at Bordertown, Whyalla, Waikerie, Renmark. So the events, or this series, going right around the state, taking a lot of the country venues here in South Australia. But it's the 18 of Danny Prad really applying the blowtorch to the 41 of Josh Martin. He really would be feeling the heat at the moment. Danny Prad now looking to the inside of the 41. Nice close-in shot there of the two battling for the race lead. Danny Prad now to the inside in turn number 3, and he'll make the move for the race lead. So it's Danny Prad who leads. Josh Martin in the second spot. These two drivers have opened up a pretty big lead over the 29 of Carlia Richter. Then it's the 33 of Dean Cottrell. So they're the top 4 on the racetrack at the moment. But have a look at Danny Prad. This could be the first time he's actually led a race, let alone the chance of actually winning a heat of the South Australian Junior Sedan Series. Back to put a lap down on the 19 of Kyle Eichler, just going past the 14 of Roxanne Kloppers as well. Both those drivers now one lap down. Danny Prad doing a great job aboard the 18. Smartly presented race car as he heads down the back straightaway. And action of plenty. Cars in all directions. Skylar Trent, also Max Kennedy involved in that one. It may have been one of the prizes also in the all-white race car. Race declared. Danny Prad, the race winner, ahead of Josh Martin and Carlia Richter. Heat race number 2 now on the racetrack. Division 1. And as you can see, it's Adrian Cottrell in the 63 who leads. In behind him, the 25 of Chris Hayden. Also the 23 of Jack McCarthy. Oh, look at the 16 there of Tom Pritchard trying to force his way through. And speaking of forcing her way through, the number 2 of Nicole Tyndall, the Daihatsu Charade, has just made contact with one of the other race cars, sending it straight into the wall. That may have been the 75 of David Garnside, making contact with the outside wall. So we're under green once again. Complete restart as Adrian Cottrell, who leads them through turn number 1 and 2. Chris Hayden out of Mount Gambier in the second spot. Then it's Jack McCarthy in that very distinctive fluorescent orange and silver race car that gets very sideways in the middle of, really on the exit of turn number 4. The 21 of Dylan Richter also involved there, battling it out for 3rd and 4th. But it's Chris Hayden and Adrian Cottrell who battle it out for the race lead at this stage. Have a look at Adrian Cottrell, drifts very high, got a big understeer. The car just would not turn through turn number 4. Oh, contact for 3rd and 4th between the 23 of Jack McCarthy and also the 13 of Jason Gantz. You don't see Jason Gantz spin too often, obviously, just really spinning to avoid the number 23 of Jack McCarthy. And in fact, McCarthy looks like he may be out of this one, and the 13 of Gantz has been reinstated to the 3rd spot. So obviously the accident being deemed not to be his fault. So our race leader is still Chris Hayden in car number 25. Then it's Adrian Cottrell. Then it's the 13 of Jason Gantz. In behind him is the 21 of Dylan Richter, also Tom Pritchard. Up the front of the field here in heat race number 2 of the junior sedans. But it's Chris Hayden in the 25, the Datsun continuing to lead. Then it's the Daihatsu Charade of Adrian Cottrell. Then it's the 13 of Jason Gantz, last season's champion. So Gantz really one of the drivers to keep an eye on throughout this series during 2005, 2006. But it's Chris Hayden who really is starting to put a bit of daylight between himself and Adrian Cottrell in the 2nd spot, as our race leader is about to put a lap down of Ryan Alexander in car number 36. Also puts a lap down on one of the Glasbrooks. It could be Jamie Glasbrook in car number 9. But it's still Chris Hayden who's well and truly in command in this one. There's the 25 machine in turn number 1 and 2. Adrian Cottrell now just putting Ryan Alexander in Glasbrook a lap down. Jason Gantz follows him through in car number 13. You can see the distance that Chris Hayden has over the rest of the field. Cottrell, Gantz and Dylan Richter is putting in a great drive back there in 4th. Oh, contact further back there between the 2 of Nicole Tyndall, and it may have been the 6 of Catherine Glasbrook. So the 2 young ladies getting together there. They're in turn number 4, but also both cars were able to continue. But it's still Chris Hayden in car number 25 who leads this one quite easily. Down the back straight away, past the pit turn now, in turn number 3. As you can see, the track in great condition here tonight at Murray Bridge, as the white flag now comes out for Chris Hayden. One more lap to go. This one was over 10. As he makes his way through turn number 3 and 4 for the final time. Checkered flag will come out for Chris Hayden in a great drive. He really has stamped his authority over the field here in his opening drive of the night. 2nd place just coming through now, Adrian Cottrell.
Here in the pit area here at Murray Bridge, and we've come across Jason Gantz, one of South Australia's leading junior sedan drivers. Jason, welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Now, the series that's being run this year right around the state, Murray Bridge, Bordertown, Whyalla, Waikerie, it's a great thing for the class, isn't it?
Yeah, it just gives us more to look forward to. when we go up to the bigger classes, we've got to get used to running things like series and stuff. So.
And this car behind us is beautifully presented. I believe you've had a pretty big hand in building it.
Yeah, me and Shane Best, I spent the holidays working for him, and then he'd work for me over the night helping him build the race car. So.
Now, you won this series last season. Are you looking for a repeat performance this year?
Yeah, I hope so.
And once you've actually graduated out of this class, what are your intentions once you leave the junior sedans?
I'm going to go to modifieds. I've already got one half built. So.
I'm guessing Shane Best is having a fairly big influence on that car as well?
Yeah, it was one of his old ones and he's still building it.
Now, the Murray Bridge track, is it one of your favourites? The 360 metre venue, it's pretty banked. It's a racy track, from your opinion?
Yeah, it's a good track. Just the car's always breaking down there for some reason. It's just not good luck.
Well, we hope you have a good run tonight and the opening round of this Junior Sedan Series, and of course throughout the entire season.
Thanks.
So heat number 3 now on the speedway for the junior sedans, and they're charging down the back straight. As you can see, a beautiful sunset in the background here at Murray Bridge, as our leaders are now down in turn number 3 and 4. It's now the 29 of Kalia Richter who leads. Then it's the 5 of Joel Chadwick, the 33 of Dean Cottrell in the 3rd spot. Then it's the 18 of Danny Pratt. And they round out the top 4, followed by Max Kennedy as they charge down the back straight away. But it's Kalia Richter who continues to lead, one of the big improvers over the last season or so, driving the 29 machine. Then it's the 5 of Joel Chadwick and Dean Cottrell in his first season of junior sedan racing. In the 3rd spot, of course, Dean Cottrell is the son of super sedan driver Kim Cottrell, so plenty of driving tips going on between events for that young driver, and he really has been a big improver during this particular season. But the race leader is still the 29 of Kalia Richter, who's now coming under some intense pressure from the 5 of Joel Chadwick. They split one of the lapped cars, the yellow lights are on. Didn't quite pick up the reason for the yellow, but this time around cars must pass the orange cone. Kalia Richter, the 5 of Joel Chadwick, the 33 of Dean Cottrell, and the 18 of Danny Pratt, who's having a great night. Of course, won his earlier heat, Max Kennedy in the 5th spot. In fact, those 5 drivers got a very big jump over the rest of the field, and it's Kalia Richter who continues to lead, but not by much over the 5 of Joel Chadwick as they go through turn number 4. Kalia Richter driving the bottom side of the racetrack, really telling the 5 of Chadwick, if you're going to go past me, you're really going to have to go around the top side. There's a 41 of Josh Martin, who's one of the quicker drivers in the opening heat, so he must have a problem here in heat race number 3. Out of turn number 4, our race leader is now the 5 of Joel Chadwick. Oh, look at the 29 of Kalia Richter, very sideways out of turn number 4 and got out of shape down the front straightaway. Really has wrecked her momentum as she now drops back to around about 4th spot as they put a lap down on Jesse Arthur in the number 10, the red machine on the back straightaway. But our race leader starting to run away with this one. The 5 of Joel Chadwick starting to carve his way through the lap traffic. Puts a lap down now on the 12 of Stuart Price as he now makes his way through turn number 3 and 4. There's a 41 of Josh Martin going yet another lap down, so he must have a problem aboard that car. Roxanne Klopp is the next of the drivers to go 1 lap down in car number 14. As Kloppers now gets rounded up by our race leader. I think Joel Chadwick is doing it very nicely indeed in this one. He really is running away with it as the checkered flag comes out a long way back to 2nd place. That'll be the 7 of Max Kennedy, Kalia Richter in 3rd, Danny Pratt, Dean Cottrell rounding out the top 5 as the rest of the drivers just make their way through turn number 4 for the final time. There's Roxanne Kloppers in the 14 just going across the finish line. There's heat race number 4 now on the racetrack, over 10 laps. Jason Gans to lead them in, Nicole Tyndall, Tom Pritchard. Also the 6 of Catherine Glasbrook. This one should be a pretty good one. Also watch for the 63 of Adrian Cottrell further back in the pack. Also the 53 of Kate Weesey involved in the 25 of heat race number 1, or heat race number 2 winner. Earlier heat race, of course, won by Chris Hayden further back in the pack. In fact, he's not quite making his way through the field as I would expect. In fact, dicing at the moment with the 63 of Adrian Cottrell. Now looking to the inside of Glasbrook as they make their way through turn number 3. But our race leader is the 13 of Jason Gantz. In the second spot, the 23 of Jack McCarthy. Then it's the 2 of Nicole Tyndall hanging in there in the third spot. Tom Pritchard in the fourth spot. Then it's the 25 of Chris Hayden, who is starting to progress through this field as he looks to the inside there in turn number 3 of contact there, and the 2 of Nicole Tyndall is turned around by the 16 of Tom Pritchard, and it looks like Pritchard has been put to the rear of the field, deemed to be the reason for the stoppage. So rotten luck there for Tom Pritchard, but he really did drive into the side of Nicole Tyndall and turn her around. And speaking of turning around, there's the 63 of Adrian Cottrell making a mistake there on the exit of turn number 2. Cottrell, one of the stars of the season so far, has already won a feature race in Adelaide, so he went into this event with some great form behind him, but that wasn't one of his better efforts there in turn number 2. But it's still the 13 of Jason Gantz. He continues to lead in a familiar spot for that particular driver out of Cubdogler in the Riverland. In the second spot is still Jack McCarthy, and have a look at Chris Hayden all over the boot lid of the 23 as they go through 3 and 4. In fact, Hayden looking to the inside, looking for that second spot, looking for a clean sweep here tonight. Of course, he already has an earlier heat race victory, but Jason Gantz will be a tough customer to get past, as too with the 23 of Jack McCarthy. In fact, Hayden trying to force his way through in the exit of turn number 4. This is a great racing for second spot between Hayden and Jack McCarthy. In fact, Hayden will now make the move there in turn number 1. So he sat back for a lap or so, then decided that he's got to make his move, and he's made it there in turn number 1. But Jack McCarthy, he won't give up too easily, and he'll look to take that second spot back. But the 25 of Chris Hayden really is charging here. He's up into the second spot, but he has been given the protest flag, so he has booked an appointment with the stewards at the completion of this heat. Checkered flag will be out next time around. White flag signifying 360 metres to go for our race leader, which is Jason Gantz. Chris Hayden all over the back of the 13 as they go through 3 and 4 for the final time. But our race leader is Jason Gantz. Hayden looks to the inside, but Gantz will just hang on. Chris Hayden across the line in second, but he's relegated back to 4th. So the first of our 2 features now out on the racetrack. Division 2 feature over 10 laps. Danny Pryor to lead them in. The 5 of Joel Chadwick on his outside. Then it's Carly Richter and Dean Cottrell the first 2 rows. Max Kennedy back there on the 3rd row. In fact, speaking of the 7, Kennedy spins around there in turn number 1 and 2. It's collected by, I think, the 74 of Skylar Trout. So Flipper making contact.